Okay, what I'm do is a little example of how you can use Mixed Reality Toolkit with basic rollerball. It's a really good way of thinking about what you can do with MRTK, but also it's a really simple starting point. You can play with it, so you can see how things work and what's possible. So to explain where we're at here, this is rollerball as you would have made it in your first sort of beginning entry into Unity 3D. And then all I've done, I've already imported the Mixed Reality Toolkit. I've already configured this tool case here. I did scene and configure, and I've configured the build settings to Universal Windows Platform and made sure everything's up and running. So everything's out of the box. So let's press play and see what it looks like. So come to the world. I'm going to look around here. As I move, there's probably a little bit of physics is impacting that rollerball. I'm not actually doing anything to make it move, but that's how you'll see without a change. Stop that. You'll actually notice a couple of things here. First of all, the video camera that we had put up has disappeared, so Mixed Reality Toolkit automatically removes that. So that's one thing to know, and everything's positioned at 0 because that's what it did just naturally by following the tutorial. So it's all ready to go. So let's start making the first things we need to do, because we're going to start thinking about actually how we're going to use this game as a virtual reality game. The first thing I get you to do is, this is considered some best practice in mixed reality, is if you're rendering content too close to the user, it can actually make it very uncomfortable. That's what causes the nausea effect some people describe with it. So what you want to do is navigate to Mixed Reality Play Space, main camera, and then find the camera component. And it says there should be a near text box. And we want to change that to 0.85. And what that means is going to render less near and lead to less discomfort, okay, and etc. Okay, so that's the first change you want to make, and you want to do that as default to any virtual reality game. It's pretty standard. So let's actually start to see what we want to do. The first thing we're going to get rid of, because it's simpler for now, is the UI elements, the end game, etc., aren't going to work. They're not best practice to have something spring up on your platform. Probably the game over, the win, would work, but the score text, which was down in the, you remember, is in the corners, is not going to work. So it's probably easier at this stage. We're just going to disable those, and you would normally use the text renderer. So if you were in future, you would be using the Text Mesh Pro, and you would actually render into the virtual world. But for simplicity, we're going to pretend we're just going to ignore that. So let's first of all, what ways we can think about controlling this game. The first thing is we've got controllers. So let's see, can we use that to control the ball? And that's actually really, really simple. So we're going to go into the toolkit. This is our configuration. I'm going to copy and customize. And I'm going to start by customize the input. Again, I need to clone these. What I'm going to do is clone everything as I go. So the first thing I need to do is in input actions. I need to clone that. And all I'm going to change is scroll down here, is find navigation. And I want that navigation to be a dual axis, because I'm going to take the navigation from on my controller, the little joystick. And then under controllers, again, I need to clone this. Just going to think for a second, clone. Controller definitions. I can now say, so on my left, I want the trigger, the thumbstick position, instead of being navigation. Instead of being teleport, I'm going to make that to navigation. And this setting will now also mean that the Xbox controller will also work. I can actually do that here. You'll find the Xbox controller. Touch screen, where are we? Xbox controller. The left thumbstick, I'm going to make that navigation. And I'm now also going to make the same time, my Xbox controller will work. So I'm going to start up. and now let's see if I can see the ball. I've just got to look around. I'm just holding my headset here. And now I'm using the controller on my left box. I've got to adjust the speed, and I'm now moving the ball, and I can work it over to where I want to go and then pick up a collectible. So that's one way. I need to change the speed. It was a little bit slow, but I'm just showing you what's possible here. So that's one way of changing how we manipulate. The other way is we can actually go, well, the player, I now want to be able to pick this up and move it. So I'm going to add a component. I'm going to add the manipulation handler. Straight away, I actually don't need to do anything out of the box. I can change events, etc. here and add more complex problems, but I'm just going to add the manipulation handler. Let me grab that. I just realized I think that moving before was actually my controller was not turned on. So now I've actually, yep, there it's now. It's actually working much better. So if I look for the ball, I'm going to put my headset on so I can actually see. There is a ball there, yep. So I can now, things falling everywhere. Let me start that again with the ball closer by. This game really isn't optimized for VR, but it's just a good way to play with it without doing too much effort. So, there's the ball. So I can now pick this ball up, and I can now go over to a object that I might need to move. I'm making this a bit difficult for myself. Let's make this a little bit easier, shall we? I'm going to pick a collectible. I'm going to move that really close. This will make my life a lot easier and help you understand. So I now have my controller. Now there should be a ball right there, and I can pick it up because I'm now moving this with my controller. That manipulation allows me to move it. Because I've got that other setting with my joystick, I can also control. I'm now actually controlling the ball, so I can actually go around and pick things up that way. So that's one option. Now, another way of doing it is I might want to make a first-person shooter. So I want to, I think I'll do this in camera. In the prefab. So assets, prefab. So this was the collectible prefab. I'm going to open the prefab, and I want to add a couple of components. I want to add the point click handler, and you actually also need to add two things with this. You also need to add the point handler. So I'm going to say I want on pointer clicked. I want the object. I'll do that. And then I'm actually also got for this. I've already got rigid body. Make sure you've got rigid body, or this won't work. I've now added that to the prefab. So in the collectibles, let's actually just do the one that's in front of us because it's easy. I'm now going to drag the object itself in front of it, and I'm going to say I want that rigid body, and I'm going to toggle the gravity. So what I'm actually doing, when I point and click, it's actually going to turn gravity on for that object. So it's going to disappear off the page. Again. So again, my object's in front of me, I'm pointing, and I click. Oops, actually, I needed to, I must have missed something. Hang on. That tick, sorry, back. So it's just taking a bit of a second to load up into the headset. Okay. So again, I point that and it falls through. Okay, now I haven't actually applied that effect to anything else. Also, the other thing you'll find is the distance is 10. So some of these further ones I might not reach. As I was saying, is this If we're moving this to a VR game, we'd probably change. We'd also probably consider changing the axis. Now, what if I want the camera itself to be the player? The first thing we need is there's some stuff in the player script we don't want. And when we remove that, let's just go to our scripts. I'm going to create a new script. This will be cam player. I'm going to edit that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy the bits I want from, which is the on trigger, from the player controller we've already got. And then I'm basically going to add that, attach that to the camera, and that's actually going to allow me then to physically walk around and interact with these objects. Let's see, where are we? It's just going to think. So I want my player controller, and actually all I really want is this on trigger enter. I want that in here. I can actually override. I don't need the start or the void update. I also don't need, and we're not doing the counters, we're just going to do the set active. I'm going to control save that. Then we're going to open up in Unity. And, oops, go back. And let's play that. And so now, I'm going to do this light. I forgot one more thing. I need on the camera. So the main camera, I need to add a box collider, so it knows that we're colliding with something. And I need to add cam player. So that was that script. So we've now attached that script. We are now a box collider. So when the camera itself collides with something, it will actually cause something to trigger. So let's go play. And so now I am myself. So if I move around and I'll suggest in a room, you probably as you see, as I now physically, as the camera itself interacts with things, they will disappear again. As you can see, the room is too big. So for me to move around, it's going to cause problems. But yeah, so that gives you a nice little introduction to the different things you can do using existing game you've already got, just modifying and playing with and getting used to the different components. So I hope that sort of helps in your journey in understanding Mixed Reality Toolkit.